Hey everyone, I wanted to do a quick update because I appreciate that I've been doing a lot of telling and not a lot of showing recently. So I wanted to cover some of the changes I've made to Rebound and the Rebound engine. So one thing I've been looking into has been adding functionality to mute the music of the game. If this was just a regular desktop app, just implement it via key commands. For example, I'd maybe use like the M key for toggling the music off. But because this is also now a web app and could be used on touch devices, they might not have a keyboard. So I decided, well, it would be good to implement some kind of buttons that could be touched or clicked. However, there's a bit of a problem with that in that the game itself now relies on being able to like click or touch the screen to move things. So it would be a bit kind of jarring and a bit annoying having sort of buttons within the game itself overlaid to toggle the music on and off in the web app. So I thought about different ways I could tackle this. And what I've landed on is trying to find out whether I can essentially take the web app part of the project and get it to talk to the C++ app. What I've done is I've learned that Emscripten provides the ability to bind data and functions between JavaScript and C++. The most important part is you have to declare all of your bindings in your C++ file. So this is just the main C++ file. Right, so what I've done here is I've wrapped in an if-def block a check to see whether Emscripten is in the build. So this only works for the web version of the app. It's excluded from the desktop version because it doesn't need it. So what you do is you declare well, you have to just do an import first. You have to include bind.h from the Emscripten libraries, and then you have to declare your bindings here. So you declare your bindings, and then what you have to do is use a namespace and say, I want to declare a function binding from to Emscripten. It's going to be called toggle music, and that's the name that it's going to be referenced in the JavaScript. And then what you do is you pass a function pointer of the function that you want to call in C++. In this case, what I've done is I've created a class, a static class, to handle all of the different callbacks from JavaScript, and I've called that the JavaScript callback handler. So let's take a look at that. You can see here it's just a very simple class. Again, it's wrapped in Emscripten if-def blocks. I've declared a method called toggle music, and you can see here it's written in the C++ conventions. What you do then is you can pass a value in here, and these Emscripten values can be like, essentially they map really nicely to C++ variables, so it could be booleans, it could be strings, and Emscripten handles all the marshalling for you. So essentially, if you want to pass a boolean in, it'll make it so that it becomes a JavaScript boolean on the other side, which is brilliant. But what I've done is I've passed a Emscripten val, which could be anything. And in this case, it's a JavaScript callback function. Let's look at the definition of this. Here is the implementation for the callback handler, and this is basically just like this is like an API. This is like an API interface. This is our connection between JavaScript and our project. It's like one layer separated between the engine and JavaScript, and all facilitated by embind in Emscripten. So here's the implementation. In the toggle, what we do here is we take our callback, and when we're done with all the work we want to do, we call the callback, and that updates JavaScript to say, okay, this is the new state of the app. In this case, because it's toggling music, what it does is it calls out to our music player static class, toggles the music, and then queries the music player's state for the music playing getter, and returns that back using the JavaScript callback function. It's just really clever. Like, it's something that I wanted to do with the engine, having it as a web app, but I didn't think it was going to be possible. But it was really easy to implement. So as a result of that, as well as I've had to implement a toggle music function, and that's now in my engine. So that goes alongside in the player. Now what you can do is it just checks and sees if the music is set to be playing, and if it isn't set, then it sets the volume to max and then updates the state of the setter for that field. Otherwise, it sets the music to 0 and sets the state. Now, obviously, I could implement like an entire volume control, a slider, for example. Might do that in the future. At the moment, what I've done is I've just implemented a sort of a binary music on, music off. I should also mention as well that this is music. It's not the whole like master sound. You can turn the music off independent of the other sound effects. So I will demonstrate that when I do this, it's not turned off all of the sound. It's just turned off the really annoying music. So what I've done is I've created a really nice decoupled implementation where JavaScript messages can come in via Emscripten and via the JavaScript. A call is made to like a predefined bound function, or rather, I should say, it's a declared function, so we don't have to actually implement it on the JavaScript side. It doesn't need to know about the implementation. It just needs to know this is the interface or the declaration. And then what we can do is we can, within that the definition of toggle music, we can just implement all of our engine specific stuff. There is also one other benefit of this, is that I can use this toggle music code like within my C++ app in a normal manner. So if I go to one of my states, my main menu, you can toggle the music. Here's my event handler for this particular state. And in here, I've added a key down for the M key. And again, it's just reusing that toggle music functionality for the music player. What this results in is you have a really well-defined interface with Emscripten's embind, where it makes calls to code that it doesn't really need to know the details about, but also that code within the engine can be used in many other ways. Okay, so here is the web build of my game, and as you can hear in the background right now, there's lots of annoying music. Now, one thing I can do is if I have a keyboard at hand, I can hit the M key and the music stops, which is great. That's the toggle being called from inside of C++. But alternatively, I've now added a button on the screen there. You can see that says mute music. It should actually say toggle music, but if I click that again, the annoying music comes back. And if I click it again, it's off again. So this button is just a HTML and JavaScript button that's making calls directly to the C++ app. It's breaking into that sort of sandbox, if you will, through using embind. It's really cool. And if I play the game for a second, you'll hear that the sound effects work, but the music doesn't. So we're able to independently turn off the music from the other sounds. So yeah, it's just really cool. It's really cool. And again, we can turn the music on again while, yeah, like I say, it just turns the volume on and off, so it's kind of still playing in the background, but it's zero volume. So now briefly looking at the JavaScript side of things, what I have here is my app container, and this is sort of a boilerplate web page that you give Emscripten for the build, which contains your canvas element that the C++ application is rendered on. It has some sort of like loading logic, like a loading bar and stuff like that, which I haven't done too much with, and some basic styling. And what I've done, all I've had to do here is I've just had to add my button to the page, which appears next to the canvas. And you can see here it has some text to say mute music, which I'm going to change right now to toggle music. Also, it has an on-click event, and that on-click event just makes a call out to our module. Module is provided at the window level when you're using Emscripten. It's sort of baked into the build. What I've done is I've just added an on-click handler, and all this does, it takes that mapping that we created earlier in the Emscripten bindings. In this case, it's a camel case toggle music function, and this maps directly to this. And then also what we do is we provide the callback function, and this is just an arrow function, which is like an anonymous function. This gets passed in and C++ calls back to it. And as you can see here, what we do is we pass a boolean back to see whether the sound has been muted or has been set back to play again. That's all there is to it, really. It's a really, really slick, easy integration between on the JavaScript side of things. So if we open up the logs here, when I do the toggle, you'll see, and you can hear the sound coming on and off, you'll see that it's returning true or false based on the result. It's just a really slick way to control the C++ app and the engine from JavaScript. There's lots of possibilities of scripting from outside of the engine. I think it has good utility to add controls from outside into the web app that are only applicable to the web app without wasting space or making it more jarring for the user when they're trying to use mouse input. Hey again, I went away and had some pizza, and then as I was biting into the first slice, I realised that I'd missed something. So here I am post pizza, absolutely stuffed. One thing I forgot to mention was that you have to update the makefile, the web app version of the game. All you have to do is add another flag called embind, and that activates the embind and lets you bind JavaScript functions or JavaScript variables as well to the C++ app. I also had to add the declaration that I'm including a new source file, which is my JavaScript callback handler. This is basically just the file that sort of glues the callback logic into the music player logic. Yep, I forgot to mention that, but that is quite important to have that embind flag in there. Hey again, I've just done a few final updates to this sound control functionality that I just wanted to share. What I've done is I've introduced mute and unmute functionality into the sound player and the music player alongside the toggling of the music. I've added the callbacks, so for the JavaScript callback handler now we have a mute master volume and unmute master volume, and what they do is they either mute the sound and the music player and then report back success, or they unmute it. The callbacks to the list of callbacks being declared. So we have unmute master volume, mute master volume, and then I've passed a pointer to those functions in the callback handler. I've also made some changes to the web page app container. I just added some SVGs for icons to represent the sound off, sound on, music off, music on buttons. Add some color to them. Added just some basic tooltips. And then what I've done is I've just added the buttons. And yes, this is just vanilla JavaScript. So it's a little bit like I'm doing a lot of heavy lifting by like getting DOM elements and changing things. In reality, what I think I'm going to do in the long term with this, the controls and stuff, is I'll probably write a set of React components and sort of manage the state in those. Maybe have it in a separate repo and just import the dependencies. This is already just kind of proving the concept and just so I can demonstrate it quickly. Still got the click event, but now instead of just toggle music, we've also got mute and unmute the master volume, depending on which button's been clicked. So yeah, we can toggle the master volume on and off, and as a result of that, you don't hear any sound effects. However, we can toggle the music back on, and there's no sound effects, but there is music. We can toggle the music back off, toggle everything back on. We've got sound effects and music. And then we can also just toggle the music off and get the sound effects. Probably add like some kind of like toggle switches for music and for sound effects. But I just wanted to demonstrate the concept that you can create UI outside of the app and use embind to communicate and call back between the C++ app and the JavaScript. This does beg the question, what else could this functionality be used for? And my answer to that is, I definitely think that scripting is one of those things that could be leveraged, and just more kind of UI controls outside of the engine itself. I think it's a good idea, but I guess we'll see. Thanks for watching. This was really fun to make. I'm glad that I got a chance to kind of show the development process there, and whilst also being able to explain what's going on. Because that sometimes can be difficult, kind of communicating what progress I've made and actually showing some of the examples rather than just kind of telling and showing presentation slides. So hopefully that was a little bit more entertaining there than just reading presentation slides. But if you did enjoy that video, I highly encourage you to subscribe so that you don't miss the next one. And with all that said, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.